أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيبنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صادق الوعد الأمين، وعلى آله وأصحابه وابنه الكريم الغوث الأعظم محي الدين عبد القادر الجيلي وحزبه وبارك وسلم. أما بعد، وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى في قرآنه العظيم وكتابه القديم: إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. جماعة المسلمين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have covered a portion of, I would not say completely, but a part of the Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in 2 sessions, and we will now continue on the topic of a Nabi and a Rasul. Last week I mentioned to you about the chart of creation, and as much as it's important to know and believe in the attributive qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, similarly it is important to know about a prophet of Allah, because we are subjected to a prophet, and it is by the prophet of Allah that we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and try to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is very important to know the basics about a prophet, Nabi or a Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that man can protect himself from committing any kufr and disbelief. A prophet, a Rasul is a messenger, and a Nabi is a prophet. There is a difference between the status of a Rasul and a Nabi. A Rasul is a messenger that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses with a Sharia, a set of rules, and a book, and the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and is sent to a nation. And a Nabi is one who helps and assists a Rasul to promote the laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed unto a Rasul. Now, a prophet of Allah is a medium between creator and creation. And if you remove a Rasul between these two, then the creation can never reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is via the mediation and wasila of the Rasul or the Nabi that man gets in touch, in contact with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he reaches Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, there are 2 aspects of a prophet of Allah. The 2 aspects of a prophet of Allah. One is known as the Nubuwah, the prophethood, and one is known as the Wilaya. A prophethood, which is the Nubuwah, and Wilaya, and the sainthood of a prophet of Allah, which is known as Wilaya. So it is Nubuwah and Wilaya. These are 2 conditions of a Nabi, and one is more excellent than the other. Let us just deal with this very quickly so you must understand. One is the Nubuwah of a Nabi. his prophethood. That is his designation. And one is his wilaya. It's always one of his qualities or one of his stations and one of his designations as well. Now, the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a prophet his prophethood, his wilaya, his nubuwwah and wilaya, is because being an intermediary in being a wasila and being an in between Allah, the Creator, and creation is he has to receive from Allah and pass it on to creation. As receive from Allah and then passing on to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a mediation that he does. And that is because man cannot withstand the direct radiation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has created the Prophet as a transformer to withstand the radiation, the direct radiation of Allah, and simplify it for the use of creation. So a Nabi of Allah takes from Allah, and to take from Allah, he takes it through his sainthood or his wilaya. He takes from Allah through his sainthood, and that's his spirituality and his status. And when he distributes to the nation, to the creation, he distributes it through his prophethood. Now, the wilaya of a Nabi is more excellent than his nubuwwah. Yani it is stated, Al-wilayatu nabi afdalu min nubuwwatihi. If you want to write it down, you can write Wilayatu nabi, Wilayatu nabi, Wilayatu nabi afdalu min nubuwwatihi. Meaning, the wilaya, the sainthood of a Nabi is more excellent than his prophethood. Okay? These are two designations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a Nabi, that is sainthood to receive from Allah and prophethood to distribute to creation. Why is the sainthood or wilaya of a Nabi more excellent than his prophethood? Is because the wilaya of the Nabi, his sainthood is concentration in Allah. His sainthood, his wilaya is his concentration in Allah, and his nubuwwah and prophethood is concentration in creation. So it is obvious that the concentration in Allah is more excellent than concentrating on his creation, because the ultimate goal is concentration in Allah. Okay? So his concentration is more intense with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in comparison to his concentration in creation. So when he concentrates in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he receives the mercies from Allah. Right? And then he distributes it to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this part you must understand and keep it alive in your minds and keep it fresh in your minds, so it will help you. So the meaning of a Rasul is that a person who brings the message from Allah to creation, takes the message from the Creator and he brings it to creation. That is the duty of a Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is Allah's messenger. A person who receives, a man, a human that receives a revelation from Allah, a wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he comes and guides the people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is known as a prophet of Allah. Right, now the message that he received from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are two ways of him receiving the message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is either he receives this revelation via an angel. When an angel brings it to him, it is known as wahi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the angel that has been appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring down the message to the messengers is Sayyidina Jibreel Amin alayhi salatu wa taslim, who is known as the archangel or the Sultan al-Malaika, or the king and leader of all the angels of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Jibreel is the one that brings the message from Allah, a wahi from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he passes on to the messengers or to the prophets. And it's not necessary that any wahi is a communication between Allah and a prophet. Not necessary that a wahi only comes to a messenger, to a Rasul, and not to a Nabi. Right? The one method that the angel receives the message from Allah and he passes on to the Rasul. This is a wahi and forms a part of the articles of the Sharia of that time. Okay. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala communicates with an ordinary prophet, a normal prophet, not a Nabi, not a Rasul, this is also known as a wahi and communication. But that doesn't form the Sharia of the laws that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends to a Rasul. Are you following? Do you understand? Okay. Now, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses the medium of an angel to send the message, this is one way. And the second is Allah directly communicates with the Rasul of Allah. He directly communicates. It's also known as a wahi. Wahi means communication between Allah and prophets. Okay. So there's two ways that he receives the message from Allah, is either by an angel, or he receives it directly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah communicates with him directly. Okay. Now there are many humans that are prophets of Allah, as well as there are numerous angels that are messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So there is categories in the human, and one of the most superior category is the prophets of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala के बंदे, अल्लाह ताला के बंदे जो होते हैं उनमें रसूल होते हैं, उनमें नबी होते हैं, और अल्लाह के फरिश्तों में भी रसूल होते हैं. Like Sayyidina Jibreel, Sayyidina Mikail, Sayyidina Israfil, Sayyidina Israel, these are the Rasuls amongst the prophets of Allah. And no prophet of Allah is a female. And no female can claim prophethood. All prophets of Allah, all Rasuls, all messengers of Allah are male. Right? And no person can attain prophethood by through his worship or through his endeavor and through his spiritual struggle, he cannot attain prophethood, because this is an ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah decides who is going to be a Nabi and who is going to be a Rasul. So we cannot work towards attaining the station of prophethood. Anybody who believes that if he struggles and strives and make ibadah, he'll become a Rasul or a Nabi, then he is a kafir. Okay? So, Nubuwa or Risala is not kasbi. Kasbi means it is by your endeavor. Right? There's two things. One is kasbi, that is to work towards it and try and attain it, like a university degree. You work hard and you can get your master's degree or you get your PhD or whatever it is. It's unlike prophethood. So it is not kasbi. But what prophethood and messengership, that is risalat and nubuwa, is known as wahbi. Wahbi. Wahbi is something that Allah bestows without the person's effort. There's no effort involved in the prophets of Allah or the messengers of Allah to attain prophethood or messengership. They don't have to work towards it. It is by the choice of Allah. Allah selects who He wants to make a Nabi or a Rasul. Prior to the birth of a Nabi, before his birth, before he comes into this dunya, he is pure and clean of all faults. He is free of all defects physically and spiritually. His body is perfect. He is attractive. He doesn't have any faults in his body, like a person is born squint, or a person is born blind, or a person is born with one hand, or there's some deformation. There's no such thing as a prophet is born perfect. He is perfect physically, his looks, his hair, his eye, his eyelashes, his nose, his mouth, his teeth, every single thing is unique. He is attractive, he is beautiful, and he has the most beautiful disposition and conduct. And he holds the most knowledge amongst his nation. There's nobody there that is more knowledgeable than a prophet of Allah. There's nobody more perfect than a prophet of Allah in all aspects. Okay? Because Allah has already prepared him to be unique before his birth. So nobody can take out any faults on a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if anybody who takes out faults in a Nabi is a misled person. He should not be giving a hearing and he should not be accommodated. Okay? Even his footsteps are so measured and beautiful that if a person sees or watches any action or movement of a Nabi, he becomes captivated in his unique personality. There's no way he can find any fault in it. As well as the birth of a prophet is from a very noble lineage. Not to say that in his lineage they were, evil people. The lineage is also very, very perfect and very clear and very pure. Right? The way he talks, captivates the heart of the human being. He is never vulgar, and his temperament is also very measured, and he does get angry on things when people falsify Allah or falsify the message that he brings from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His mentality and his intellect is perfect. There's no defect in his intellect. He does not forget. He doesn't make any mistakes in conveying the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His message is to the T and is precise. Not to say that he heard something, he forgot what he heard from Allah, and then he tries to recall what he heard. That never happens with the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is always alert. Right? Therefore it is stated that when a Prophet of Allah sleeps, like Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, that tanamu aini wala yanamu qalbi. If you want to write it, you can write it down. Tanamu aini wala yanamu qalbi. My eyes do sleep. Tanamu aini wala yanamu qalbi. My eyes do sleep, but my heart never sleeps. Okay? That's the reason why the wudu of a prophet never breaks if he sleeps. One of the factors for us that nullifies wudu is sleep. हम सो जाते हैं wudu टूट जाती है, लेकिन नबी जब सोता है तो उसका wudu कभी टूटता नहीं. When Nabi of Allah, Prophet of Allah sleeps, his wudu doesn't break. So his sleep of a Nabi is also unlike the sleep of any ordinary human being. As Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has propounded, that my eyes do sleep, but my heart never sleeps. Even the sleep of a Prophet of Allah is regarded as a wahi or a communication between Allah and His Rasul. There is no time that a Nabi's concentration and contact of Allah is broken. We become unconscious of Allah, but a Nabi of Allah was never a single moment his concentration in Allah breaks. Never. He is never unaware of Allah at any single moment. Okay? So he is unique in all senses. So the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's wudu does not break when he sleeps. The reason being that his sleep is also a communication between him and Allah. So he's totally aware and conscious of it. Okay? No matter how great or how knowledgeable a person can, or whatever state or status he can reach in knowledge, he can never compare himself with a Prophet of Allah. It's not even a drop in the ocean. A person's knowledge, a non-prophet's knowledge, a non-prophet's knowledge cannot be even compared to a drop in an ocean. Such is the extent of the knowledge of a Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If anybody believes that if he strives to become a prophet, then it is possible that he can become a prophet, and such a person becomes a kafir, becomes a disbeliever. Okay? And if anybody believes that once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows his prophethood onto any prophet, and at a time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordains, then he takes his prophethood back from him and he strips him of prophethood, such a person's belief, he also becomes a kafir. So once Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives his prophethood to any person, any human, he is never stripped of his prophethood after that. he will remain forever as a prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Prophets and angels are known as Masoom. Masoom means sinless. They do not commit any sins, nor does the thought of sin pass their minds. These are ultimately protected individuals by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if anybody attributes a defect to a prophet, is actually accusing Allah of creating a defective prophet, which can lead to kufr. Okay? So finding fault in a prophet is finding fault in Allah. Right? If anybody says Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam committed a sin, he breaks the law of masumiyat, meaning that Allah created him sinless and he committed a sin. Is showing a defect in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When anybody shows a defect in Allah, becomes a kafir. Right? No non-prophet is sinless. No matter what stage of sainthood or wilaya a non-prophet can reach, he is still not exempted from sins, and yes, he is protected from sins by Allah. He is protected, he is mahfuz. You can use the word mahfuz, not masoom. Masoom is sinless. Mahfuz is divinely protected. There are awliya Allah that did not commit any sin because Allah had protected them from sinning. To be protected from sins, mahfuz, and to be absolutely sinless are two different things. So a prophet and an angel are the only creation that are masoom, and the rest of Allah's creation, no matter how great he may be or what a great wali he can be, can never be masoom. People attribute the quality of masoom to Hazrath Sayyidina Imam al-Hussein radiyallahu anhu. This is a Shia belief. It is not the belief of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They say Hazrat Sayyida Aisha Siddiqa, Hazrat Sayyida Fatima Zahra radiyallahu anha are masoom. They call them the Imams of the Imam of Masumeen, the Masumeen Imam. This is not the belief of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. It is the belief of the Shia, which is totally incorrect. So anybody who believes that a non-prophet is masoom is a misled individual, gumrah. He is misled. And his beliefs are corrupt. Okay? Okay, we have that point now. So sinning of a non-prophet is possible. Sinnings of non-prophets are possible, awliya are possible, but sinning of prophets and angels is impossible. Okay? And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam does not forget or falter in conveying the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at any given time. जो अहकाम अल्लाह उनको देता है वो पैगाम पहुंचाने में नबी से भूल चूक नहीं हो सकती. It can never be. It is muhal. Muhal means impossible, because they are totally and divinely guided by Allah and protected by Allah to be free from faults. If anybody believes that a prophet of Allah did not convey the message of Allah due to duress or due to fear, he feared the nation will assassinate him or harm him, right? Or any other reason, then that person will become a kafir. And Nabi does not fear anyone. if a person or the nation that is standing in front of him, or that is facing, is never fearful of that because he has Allah's divine protection. Yes, there are nations that killed a lot of prophets. That's the ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Zakaria was sawed, his body was sawed into 2 pieces while he was alive. This Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained, and according to the ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things will happen. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as I said to you, that Allah's love for his beloved Nabi was so great, is so great, that when he walked in the sun to protect his tender and his body and his complexion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a cloud to protect him. I mentioned to you, to protect him from the UV rays of the sun, intense heat of the sun. But on the other hand, he sent him, as I mentioned to you, he sent him to Ta'if to give the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he was pelted and he was hurt. So this is the ordinance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? As I said to you, the more closer you get to Allah, the greater will be the test. You'll be tested to see whether you are steadfast in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. And those who pass that test are blessed with the divine proximity or maqam of qurb, which is said the divine proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the ultimate goal of your Iman. Anbiya are the most excellent among creation. So if somebody comes and exaggerates the status of his teacher or of his master or his parent or anyone for that matter above the status of a prophet, and he is a misled person who does not know the rules and regulations of Islam or the status of a prophet of Allah, and if he insists on that, it can lead to kufr. A prophet of Allah is even more excellent than the angels. Okay? तमाम अंबिया तमाम मखलूक में अफजल है, यहाँ तक कि उन फरिश्तों से भी अफजल है जो रसूल है. फरिश्तों के अंदर रसूल और गैर रसूल दोनों हैं. Among the angel fraternity, they are prophets, they are messengers and non-messengers. Right? They are the general fraternity of the angels, and they are the special, unique fraternity or group which are known as the Rasul, messengers of Allah, the angels. Okay. A wali kitna hi bada martaba wala ho, kisi nabi ke barabar nahi ho sakta. Like you have the Shia belief that Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu ta'ala is more excellent than prophets, which is absolutely a kufr belief. They believe it. They believe in that. They propagate it. They promote it. And they also defend that belief. The Shias believe that Sayyidina Ali is more excellent than prophets. This is a kufr belief, not the belief of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Okay. All right. If anyone rates a non-prophet more higher or greater or more excellent than a prophet of Allah, has committed kufr. He loses his iman. Okay? Number one, aqidah, belief. The reverence of a Nabi of Allah is farz ayn. Farz ayn is absolute farz, absolute compulsion to love and respect and honor a Prophet of Allah. Okay? Aqidah number 1. This is our article of faith now. नबी की ताज़ीम फ़र्ज़ आइन है, बल्कि तमाम फ़राइज़ की असल है. It is the crux and essence of all compulsions in Islam. The essence of all compulsions, all farz, all farais, the essence of all farais is to revere and respect a Prophet of Allah, no matter who he is. Right? सारे नबी अल्लाह ताला के नज़दीक बड़ी वजाहत व इज़्ज़त वाले हैं, और उनको अल्लाह ताला के नज़दीक माअज़ल्लाह चौड़ा चमार की मिसल कहना खुली गुस्ताखी और कलमा एक कुफ्र है. The status of prophets of Allah are most elevated and are very excellent and unique in the presence of Allah, in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To degrade any prophet as they are ordinary creations of Allah are not even fit to be, the status is so low of a human in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is worse than a Qabla, which has been written and promoted by the Wahhabi faculty, and that's the reason, one of the reasons of the dispute between a Sunni and a Deobandi, a Sunni and a Wahhabi, is fundamental beliefs, not Salam, Fatiha, Darood, Mawlud and all that. These are all side issues. The crux of the problem is fundamental belief. That's where you find the split. People think the difference between the Sunni, Barelvi or Deobandi and Wahhabi is Mawlud, Fatiha, Urus, Salatu Salam. It's absolute nonsense. That's only side issue. If you make Mawlud, good for you. You don't make Mawlud, you don't become a kafir. But if you insult Mawlud, then we got a problem. You don't want to make Mawlud, don't make. The moment you insult it, then you have picked up a problem with us. We will defend that. It is jaiz, permitted in Islam, and it is beneficial, and it is an excellent act. And when you condemn it, then the problem starts. But that is still not the main issue. These are all side issues. All right? Going to the mazar, you want to go, you go. You don't want to go, you don't go. That's a side issue. But when it comes to the basic fundamental articles of faith, which is the aqaid, belief, like as I mentioned to you now, that to insult a Nabi of Allah now deals with fundamental articles of faith. Here it is Imaan and Kufr. If you believe that he has no status in a court of Allah, his status is just like a postman who take the message and deliver the message, and after he deliver, the postman got nothing to do with you, then you are a problem. Because the moment you detach a Nabi from his ummah and nation, that nation is destroyed. So as you have a constant relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a Nabi, example for you to explain you properly that you will understand it. Nabi, a wall will cast a shadow, all right, when the sun exists. The moment the sun is moved from there, there is no more shadow. The shadow is the nation, the ummah, and the sun is the Prophet. So it is necessary and compulsory for the Prophet to be a mediator for you until such time, or always, as long as you believe in Allah, it is by the mediation of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So don't think that his job was to come and give the message and his work is over. No. It is permanent. It is there. The moment you remove that contact of a prophet from his nation, between him and his creator, then you got a serious problem. Okay? So that contact with the Nabi is permanent. You cannot move it from there. You cannot remove it from there. Okay. It is said that anyone who insults a prophet of Allah becomes a kafir. Anbiya alayhi salam अपनी अपनी कब्रों में इसी तरह जिंदा है जैसे दुनिया में थे. Very important. A prophet of Allah is alive in his grave as he was alive on earth. Now you can write this hadith down. Al-Anbiya Al-Anbiya Ahya'un Al-Anbiya Ahya'un fi quburihim. Or write this hadith rather. Inna Allah, write this hadith down. Inna Allah harrama Inna Allah harrama ala al-ard an ta'kula ajsad al-nabi. أجساد النبي. إن الله حرم على الأرض أن تأكل أجساد النبي. فنبي الله حي يرزق. إن الله حرم على الأرض أن تأكل أجساد الأنبياء. Just recheck it up. إن الله حرم على الأرض أن تأكل أجساد الأنبياء. أجساد الأنبياء, not Nabi, أنبياء. أجساد إن الله حرم على الأرض أن تأكل أجساد الأنبياء. فنبي الله حي يرزق. رزق يرزق. Allah has made it haram on the ground. Allah has made it haram on the ground to eat up the bodies of prophets. Allah has made it haram on the ground to eat up the bodies of prophets. The prophets of Allah are alive in their graves, and Allah feeds them. Yurzaq, rizq, Allah gives them a rizq, Allah feeds them. The other one, that other hadith that I said, Al-Anbiya wal-Awliya, Al-Anbiya wal-Awliya, Ahya'un. Al-Anbiya, then there's another hadith, you can write this hadith down as well. Al-Anbiya wal-Awliya, Al-Anbiya wal-Awliya, Ahya'un. Yusalluna fi quburihim. يصلون في قبورهم كما يصلون في بيوتهم. الأنبياء والأولياء يصلون في قبورهم كما يصلون في بيوتهم. You got that? The awliya, the anbiya, the prophets and the awliya are alive in their graves, and they perform salah in it, and they perform namaz in their graves. One proof of that is the night of Mi'raj, when the beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam proceeded towards Masjid al-Aqsa. On his way, he observed in a place known as Kathibul Ahmar, a place known as Kathibul Ahmar, in a place known as Kathibul Ahmar, where the grave of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam is situated. He observed from the Buraq that Sayyidina Nabi Musa was engaged in Salah. Nothing you understand now, the status of a Nabi. Moving faster than supersonic speed. The Buraq, which is an electrodynamic carrier. No other word I can use to explain what is Buraq. Traveling faster than speed. To pinpoint a place, right? Number one. To pinpoint a place in that speed. Okay, number one. To pinpoint a spot. Number two, Musa alayhi salam is 6 feet down in a grave, under the ground. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, in that supersonic speed, is observing below the ground. And what is he observing? He is observing that the Nabi Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam is engaged in Salah. What do you think will be the extent of his vision? Can you imagine? We walk on the ground, we don't even know what is under our feet. He is moving in faster than supersonic speed, and is observing that Musa alayhi salam is busy making Salah in his grave, 6 foot down, or whatever depth it was at that time. We assume the normal barrier is 6 foot deep. He is observing. So his vision penetrates anything and everything in the universe. There is nothing in the universe that is hidden from the vision of the beloved Nabi Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay? What can be hidden? Because the most hidden thing in the universe is the divine being of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The most hidden thing is Allah. But when he saw Allah with his eyes, what else can be hidden from him? Right, okay, that's one point. This is our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's state of his vision and power of his vision. Now, moving at supersonic speed. Now, Kasib al-Ahmar, if you stand on the mount, on the highest point there in Masjid al-Aqsa, you can see this place. It's not very far away. It's just, maybe maximum 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers away from there. I went there. It's not far. It's only a hilly area to climb up the mountain that takes a lot of time. Winding roads. A straight road would say 10 kilometers, 15, 20 kilometers. Passing there in the faster than supersonic speed, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam arrived where? Masjid al-Aqsa. When he arrived in Masjid al-Aqsa, who did he meet there? Who did he see there? He saw Nabi Musa alayhi salam standing there. Do you understand the dynamics of this? He passed at that speed. He was busy making namaz. But he reached there within a split of a moment, and Hazrat Musa alayhi salam was standing there to welcome him. Can you understand the status of a prophet of Allah? It's beyond comprehension. It's beyond your understanding. It's beyond, you cannot comprehend the status of a Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam one day asked Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, from a young age, from a young age, he joined the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there was not a moment that he was absent from in his presence or serving him. He made hijrah with him. He accompanied him in all the battles that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam went. He was with him every day of his life. Then Nabi asked him, "Do you know me, Abu Bakr?" What a question to ask an intimate friend. You ask a friend a question, "But do you know me?" The man will tell you, "You're right in your head." What are you asking? Now Allah's Nabi is asking Sayyidina Abu Bakr. There's a very big secret in this. So, do you know me, Abu Bakr? Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala knew the status of the beloved Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he knew that every word that came out from his sanctified mouth had wisdom in it. So Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu didn't respond and say, "Ya Rasulullah, is this a question to ask me?" No. So Abu Bakr Siddiq, as much as he knew and understood the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the best answer he could give, there is no mother that gave a birth to a person like you. Then the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam responded and he says, "Ya Abu Bakr, lam yu'rafani haqiqatun ghayru Rabbi." Oh Abu Bakr, nobody knows my reality besides my Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said what he could, the best he could think. That no mother gave birth to a person like you. That covers everything. Very comprehensive answer. But he says, nobody knows my reality. Nobody knows my reality besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who created me. So Allah knows my reality and I know my reality. Nobody else knows it. Okay? So the beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam status is far beyond the comprehension of the intellect of a human being. So don't indulge in that. Who was he? What was he? Is he like this? Is he like that? You just follow the guidelines of the hadith. Or you guidelines of the Quran. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered. Follow that. And then Allah in His mercy will expose the secrets of the beloved Nabi to us. and that will expose the secrets of Allah to us. That is known as marifa, or gnosis and understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at any given time, I would say every breath that you take, you are dependent on the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If I'm going to expound on that, that will take a lot of time. What time is Isha, sir? 8 o'clock. Okay, let me expel it to you because it's something very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces himself in the opening chapter of Surah Al-Fatiha. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. This is Allah introducing himself to us, to creation. And he uses the term or the word Alameen. Alameen is a plural of the word Alam. Alam is singular. Alam means world. Alameen means worlds. How many worlds? Some commentators of the Quran says that this universe consists of approximately 18,000 worlds. This universe. What is the universe? Excluding Allah, everything else is the universe. Because everything else was created. The universe was created. Only Allah is non-created. Allah is eternal. So in the universe there's approximately, more or less, Al-Itqan fi Ulum al-Quran is the book written by Imam Jalaluddin as-Suyuti radiyallahu ta'ala. In that it mentions there approximately plus minus 18,000 worlds. Okay. That makes up the universe. And remember, the universe is everything excluding Allah. Everything created is the universe. Allah is the creator. Okay. And then he introduces his beloved Nabi, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he introduces him using the very same word, Alameen. Say, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. The same Alameen there, the same Alameen here. Same word there, same word here. What do you understand by that? From this we understand that Allah is unique in Alameen, and He created His unique Prophet in Alameen. Allah is unique as the creator, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is unique in creation. Okay. He uses Alameen there, he uses Alameen here. Okay. Now, so he's the Lord of Alameen. He is the Lord of Alameen. He is the creator of Alameen. He controls Alameen. But when he speaks about his Nabi, he says, I have not sent thee but as ultimate mercy to the universe. Use the term mercy. Nabi, Allah says, this is not my choice or not my view, but nothing to do with this, or your or anybody's view, but nothing to do. It is the Quran. Allah says, you sent him, he used the term mercy, rahmah. Now tell me what is mercy and what is not mercy. You cannot, please put the phones off. You cannot comprehend mercy. Every single thing that is of any use to you that you depend on in this world is a mercy, is a rahmah. Okay? The air that you breathe, the land that you walk on, the food that you eat, The mere fact of you being alive, right? It's a mercy of Allah. Your breathing is mercy. Your inhaling is mercy. Okay? Your lungs that are taking in the oxygen, there's a process that takes place in your lungs. There's a separation of gases that take place. The lung now will extract what is needed for the body, and it'll put the gases that is injurious and not needed by the body at one side. And if that accumulates there, your lungs will burst, swell up and burst. So it has to eject it. You have to exhale it. So the act of inhaling is a mercy, and the act of separation of gases in the lung is a mercy, and the act of exhaling is another mercy. So there is 3 mercies in every breath you take. Whose mercy is that? Whose mercy is that? Allah is introducing that this, I have not sent thee but as a mercy onto this universe. Leave around Allah. Allah is the provider of everything, no doubt about it. But you get nothing directly from Allah. You get nothing directly from Allah. This world is known as the Alame Asbab, a world of reasons. So he's handed that mercy of distribution of mercy, his mercy. He's handed the distribution of mercy to his beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is how important a Nabi is between creator and creation. He's handed it over to him. Now you give whoever you want, you give whatever you want, and give as much as you want to whomever you want. That is the authority of our beloved Nabi Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Right, number 1. Number 2, a man breathes 24,000 times. Minimum 24,000 times in a day and night. And that is uncontrollable as well. You walking, talking, you don't control your breathing. You just carry on breathing. So only time you get conscious of it is when there's a block. When you can't breathe, then you become conscious of it. Otherwise, it is normal. It is uncontrollable. So 24,000 times. And in every breath there is 3 mercies. Multiplied by 3. 24,000 multiplied by 3. Right, you all know mathematics better than I do. Right, in one day, so much of mercies of our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is given to you. Can you thank him for that? So you breathe a minimum of 24,000 times in 24 hours, I would say. Right? Okay, it's just a rough calculation. Multiply that by 3, then you know what is your value, and you know what is the value of your Nabi Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You must decide on that. So important that even the breathing, the breath, a single breath you take, in a single breath, 3 mercies. And Allah says that I have not sent you but as ultimate mercy. So even that breathing is comprehended by our beloved Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And he is the reason why you are breathing. Do you understand? It is that indirect authority Allah has given him, that directly he receives and indirectly we get. Okay, so this is how important a Nabi is to you. 1, as a human being, and 2nd, as a Muslim. Because you can never be recognized as a Muslim. You can never ever get the recognition of a Muslim if you remove his name from the kalama. Can't. There are many religions in the world that believe in the unique Tawheed, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the dividing factor between Islam and every other religion is a Nabi of Allah. If you remove the Nabi away, you're lost. So the dividing factor is the beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So inshallah ta'ala, Allah willing, Aqidah number 2 we will discuss next week inshallah ta'ala. Our time is up, and Allah bless us, and I hope you have understood it. And if you don't understand anything, please ask me. It will be healthy if I can learn something from you, or you learn something from me. Wa akhir da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakallah. Allah.